Hi, good morning. My name is Paige. So I'm gonna put it out there and say that I'm going to attempt weekly reading vlogs. Who knows if I'm going to be able to keep up with them, but I would like to try them, and I'm starting this week. I hope that I just can remember to check in. That is the biggest thing. I just forget to check in every time I try and do a week-long video. This week I'm going to be trying to read Beach Read by Emily Henry and People We Meet on Vacation, because I would like to see which one of these is better. But I have already started Beach Read. I started it yesterday, but I was having a very tired day and did not feel like picking up the camera. So I am already really liking this. If you don't know what this is about, which I think everyone does, it is about a girl named January who has just recently lost her father, and she found out a pretty big secret that he kept, that he had like another life, another woman in his life, and she is left this beach house, and she goes to the beach house with the hopes that she can figure out kind of what happened, but at the same time she needs to write a book because she is a romance writer. But since her father has passed away and those secrets of his other life have been revealed, she kind of doesn't really believe in happy endings anymore, so she's struggling to write her story. But there is a man named Gus who used to be her college rival in writing, and he is living next door. So now they are kind of trading book genres to see who can write a better book and get it sold and published first. So that is only in like the first 80 pages, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling very much with that, but I am liking it so far. At the very beginning I even almost started crying because there's a moment where January just looks at Gus and just says, "I am so tired," and I just felt that deep into my core, especially when you are dealing with grief. There's just like this exhaustion that comes with it that you don't really anticipate, or I didn't know was a thing. But yeah, I understood that, so I feel like I get some of her sadness and I get where she's coming from too. I didn't know if I would like her at first, but I am starting to really understand her. So far I'm liking this. I think I'll check in maybe at the halfway point and then my thoughts at the end, and then I will get to this one eventually. We will see if I can read both. I haven't been reading in a long time, so I might be a little slow at this, but I will check in when I have an update. Alright, quick tidbit right now. I'm at the part in Beach Read where Gus is talking about his premise for a book that he wanted to write, and it sounds so good. Like, I would kind of like to read this book. He proposed some sort of cult story about a man trying to get his ex-girlfriend out of a cult, but ends up kind of like being the bad guy. And like, Emily Henry, when are you writing this book? Because that sounds good. I would like to read that, please. Thank you. That's all I have to say. Okay, I'm going back to reading now. I was starting reading this again, and I got a page in and realized I never updated how I'm feeling about this, but I really like this. I know everyone says that this is a really good romance. I've only heard a few people say that it wasn't their favorite, but I'm surprised by how good this is, and I think it's because it's not how a romance usually goes. For me, the ones that I've read were all very cheesy and things happen really easily. There's a lot of drama, but I feel like these two are just real people with real problems, and when there is a little bit of drama, it gets resolved pretty quickly because they are actually talking to each other. Who knows how the ending will be? I feel like there's always like that final act conflict or whatever you call it. I don't even know. Am I a reader? Sure. But I feel like towards the end I always hate those in romances, especially when there's been good communication. Things get a little like weird at the end, so I'm hoping this one doesn't do it. But other than that, I am really enjoying this. I feel like the best way to describe this book is it's a romance for people who love reading or writing. I feel like if you're not really big into reading or writing, it might not be your favorite because there's a lot of like writing references and book references that I feel like a lot of people wouldn't get. So yeah, love story for readers and writers. But I am excited to finish this. I'm gonna go do that right now, and I will let you know how I feel at the end. I have finished Beach Read, and it was good. It was really good. I did end up crying quite a bit towards the end. I had to put it down for a while and go get some food, watch some TikTok, watch some YouTube videos, and kind of collect myself a little bit because there are some heavier topics in here, especially with dealing with grief and January kind of moving on from her dad's death after a year. So it just stirred up a lot of stuff in me that I didn't expect for it to, which, okay, I can't say I didn't fully expect it to happen because I knew that was a part of this book, but I don't know, I didn't anticipate crying as much as I did. But anyway, whatever, I cried, I liked it. And I don't think I can give this fully 5 stars though, because I felt like it started to drag towards the end, where it stopped being less like cutesy relationship and did start hitting a little harder on January being sad still and figuring out what really happened with her dad and some of those secrets that he had kept. And then it also kind of went into a lot of Gus's problems too, so it got a little sadder, and that didn't really take away from the book for me. I liked that part a lot, but I just started to get kind of bored and wanted it to move along a little bit faster towards the end. But overall, I really liked it. I like that this one isn't a very cliche romance, I would say, where it's not just like love at first sight, insta happiness, everything's cutesy and cheesy. It has some cutesy and cheesy moments, but I like that it just felt like real people, like you knew these people and you were just going along for their love story that happened. It's not so campy and cheesy, which I do love in romance. Those are so much fun to read, but this was just like a nice little step away from that very campy, cheesy, over the top, dramatic, whatnot. So I did really like this one, and whew, it had some moments, like honestly it made me cry. I wanted to highlight a couple of parts in this book, but I don't really like writing in books, but there was one part that I did underline and put a little dog ear, which is what I do when I want to like remember a phrase or something in a book. But it just kind of like hit close to home, and I guess it's kind of like a tangent, but I don't know, I really connected to January a lot, especially with like the parts of her grief and just the way that she thought about it, and how Emily Henry like wrote those moments that you wish that you could have gotten with the person that you're missing. And I will say I was kind of a bit jealous of January that she got at least a letter from her dad prior to his death, because like honestly I would give anything to have that happen, to just like find like a secret little letter that they wrote before they died. But yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty memorable one. It might end up being bumped to 5 stars after I like have some time to think about it, but because it did drag a little bit, I would say not fully 5 stars. And at some points I felt like I couldn't really connect with Gus fully. I thought he was a really solid character, but there were some parts that just made him feel pretty closed off, which is kind of what the point seemed to be, that he was kind of more reserved, didn't fully want to open up himself. And so I felt like he was a stranger a lot of the time too. But you were all in January's head, and her storyline is more compelling sometimes than her and Gus together. So like I said, it's not a cheesy, campy romance, but what it does do is really good, and I really enjoyed it, and I am excited to read People We Meet on Vacation. I'm 70 pages in and I've already cried twice. I don't know if I'm just overtired and I'm just highly emotional, which, I mean, fair, I'm always highly emotional, but I think that Friends to Lovers is just top tier. I don't know what it is, and I am just already in love with Alex and Poppy. I feel like these characters have so much personality already. Like within the first 40 pages I was in love with them. I feel like this is gonna be a good one, and the fact that they have had like a 2-year not really speaking to each other sort of fallout, it gives me the angst that I want to. So yeah, I'm already in love with this, and I predict I'm going to be crying a lot more just because I think it's so sweet and so cute, and I'm already definitely super in love with this one. I've been sitting here waiting for my air conditioning to turn off for the past 15 minutes, but it's not turning off because it's literally constantly on because it is so hot in Arizona. But anyway, I am officially at the halfway point, and I am just going to say I feel like right now this is my perfect book. It is just everything that I want in a romance. It's just exactly what I would look for on Arc of Our Own when I'm looking for fan fiction. Like I would click all of these tags for this story. So I am really enjoying it, and I will go further into my thoughts and more specific reasons why I like it when I'm done. But I need to go back to reading because I just spent 15 minutes waiting for an air conditioner to turn off, and that wasted 15 minutes of reading time. So I will tell you how I feel. I hope that nothing goes wrong and makes me dislike it, but I just have a feeling that I know what the conflict will be, and I'm fine with it. I'm cool with it. So, alright, bye. I finished People We Meet on Vacation, and I loved it. I love this, I love this, I love this so much. It just made me so happy. There were so many times that I actually genuinely cried, and it wasn't because the story was sad. I just like felt so many emotions for them, and I just liked them so much as characters. So I absolutely adore this story. I felt like this was a book written perfectly for what I want in a romance. I just love Friends to Lovers so much, and I just felt like I was reading a book about two people who were like so perfectly perfect for each other, and they ended up together, and it just made me so happy. I do think there are some problems that people will find with it, but nothing that really hindered my enjoyment of it, and I figured I will do like an review of these two right after I quit spewing about how much I like this one. But it was so good. There was a part though that I just uncontrollably sobbed because of my own personal issues that I have in life, where Alex was talking about the loss of his mom when he was little, and I just had to put the book down, and I think I cried for like 30 minutes just because I can't handle emotional scenes like that anymore. But other than that, it was just so sweet. I really like these two characters. I felt like I just knew them so well. Their banter and the way that they joked around with each other, all their inside jokes, and the way they cared so much about each other just made me so happy. Definitely love this one, but I figured I could do a comparison with Beach Read to talk about which book I think would be better for a certain type of people. So let me get into that. So for both of these books, I think that they are both really incredible. I actually think I'm going to give both of them 5 stars just because I enjoyed both reading experiences, but I just enjoyed them in different ways. I love that this one was more like meandering. It took its time. It had us really get to know January and what she was going through, and I felt myself, oops, I'm going to drop my book down here. I felt myself caring so much about how she was getting through her father's death and just how she was going to get back into the swing of her writing and stuff. So I just cared about what her life was looking like, and I didn't care so much about when her and Gus were going to end up together, when they were going to kiss, or when they were going to hook up or anything. That wasn't the biggest importance to me. I just really liked following her along on her journey. This one though, it's very much about their relationship and what they mean to each other, and when they're going to finally just realize that they were meant to be all along. So I enjoyed the funniness and the quirkiness and the vacations that they went on, and all their inside jokes that they got from it, and all the people that they met, and all the ways that it changed them, and how their relationship grew stronger every single year that they went on vacation together. So this one was not quite as sad as this one. It had some moments that were a little bit heavier, but not really that heavy at all. It's just like, it obviously has a couple year falling out with them, so it had those moments of angst in it. Not quite as deep as this one, where she had lost a family member and was still dealing with that. But they both really do a great job with the characters and making you feel invested in their lives and what is going to happen with them and how they're going to move forward from what their current problems are. In this one, very similar to myself right now, Poppy just kind of doesn't really know what she wants to do with her life. She felt like she achieved the things that she was supposed to achieve, and now just things don't feel as bright and happy and like she remembered her life feeling like. So she wants to figure out how to get back to that person that she was, and I really liked that. And that's kind of similar in this one too, where January just isn't the same anymore after her father's death, so she's just trying to get back to a point where she feels kind of normal and not so in the trenches of grief. So both of them have that aspect where they're just trying to get back to normal, and I really liked that about both of them. So like I said in other clips already, that this is just a book for writers. If you really enjoy writing and the writing process and the way that January and Gus kind of find their inspirations in writing their stories, this is a really fun one to read. This also has a little bit of writing in it too. I've noticed that about both of them. They like books and they like writing and whatnot. But in this one, Poppy is a writer for a travel magazine. And so she does a lot of the writing articles and stuff. And Alex is a big reader. So there's a lot of nods to writing and reading in this one too, but not quite as much as Beach Read, but it is still there. And there is a really cute nod to Beach Read in this, where Alex is actually reading one of Gus's books, which I thought was really cute. So the two things that I think that people might not love about this book is that it's not quite enemies to lovers, it's barely even rivals to lovers, and I think that might have been what it was marketed as, because I had that understanding going into it, that they were going to be a little bit more rivalrous? How do you say that? They were going to be more of a rivalry, there we go, I think that's how you say that, in this book than they actually were. I felt like they had hinted that they didn't like each other in college, but then once they knew each other as adults, they were immediately friends. So it was definitely like a newer friendship to lovers, is what this felt more like. And also it didn't really feel like a romance. I know that a lot of people have said that about Beach Read, and I definitely agree. It didn't really feel like a romance. It felt like a story about January and what she was going through and how she was getting back into the swing of her writing and her writing career, while also having romantic elements. And that was something that January talks about in the book, that some romance books are put into that like women's fiction category because they're not quite a romance, but they're not quite just fiction, so they have a like women's fiction genre for that. So I feel like this might fall into that too, but it does have a romantic aspect and I really liked it. And they do have a happily ever after, so it has to be romance, right? But yeah, I would say those would be the two things that people might not like about them. And if you're not really interested in feeling kind of sad and kind of having sad moments in a book too, especially in a romance, then it might not be for you, because she is a sad girl, but I enjoyed that personally, so I didn't have an issue. So if you don't like sad girls and stories, maybe not for you. And with People We Meet on Vacation, there are some things that I loved about it, some things I thought were kind of weird about it, and some things I don't think people will really like. So let's start with what I loved. I love that this felt really like a friends to lovers. It wasn't Poppy pining for Alex throughout their entire 10-12 year friendship. She just had a best friend that she cared so much about and made her so happy, and she loved seeing him and loved being around him and loved traveling with him. And over time she kind of figures out what he means in her life, and I really like that about this book. And it had one character being sick and the other one taking care of the other person, which is another super cute trope I like in romances. So that was another positive I found in this one. Some of the things I felt were a little odd, or that I wasn't the biggest fan of, were definitely the time jumps. So it goes into the past, back to the future, into the past, back to the present, I mean not future. I personally don't like that, especially when it leaves a chapter in the present on a cliffhanger. You have to go back to the past, and then it leaves that point of their past on a cliffhanger. You go back to the present. It kind of gets a little tedious for me. I felt like there was a point where I wanted all of the past to just stop happening and to just interweave it with the present, because I kind of got the bigger picture at one point and I was just tired of the constant back and forth. And I felt like the stuff in the past didn't always pertain to what was going on in the present. It was just giving you more background on their friendship, and I didn't feel like we needed it. I felt like from the first 40 pages I knew what their friendship was like, and I knew how much they cared for each other and that they had a really deep history with each other. So I didn't need to go and hear about their past vacations every single summer for every single year. That was something that I didn't particularly love, and I can't say that I love the overall issue that they had that made them have a 2-year falling out. It just seemed a little teenage drama-ish. I just felt like, for them being grown-ups, I think they were in their very late 20s when that issue happened. It just didn't seem like a big enough issue. I'll put spoilers right here because I just need to say this part, and I need to know if people agree with me. But in a 10+ year friendship, to have never kissed your best friend and then to let that be the reason you don't speak for 2 years just seems strange. I don't know. I guess I have different friendships, but like a peck on the lips or a little kiss here and there like is not a big deal. If I ended up kissing one of my friends, I wouldn't just stop speaking to them for 2 years because things got a little like, you know, I don't know. I just felt like that was a very weak reason to not be speaking. So that would be one of the biggest things that I did not absolutely love about this. It just felt a little teenage drama, but other than that, I really liked it. But there are some things that I think more people would dislike, especially people who aren't super sold on the friends to lovers trope. I've seen a lot of people talking about how there are a lot of girls who get upset when they want to have a friendship with a man and eventually the man kind of reveals that they have always had feelings and wanted it to be something more. And I don't think it does it particularly like that, but it is Poppy kind of feeling like they were just friends all along, but she does have that little voice in her head kind of saying, what if there could be something more? But it is kind of revealed that Alex has always felt that way all along. He doesn't say anything or do anything about it for a while. So that is one thing that if people don't like friends to lovers, you might have an issue with, because it does kind of fall into that where Poppy didn't feel anything and Alex did, and eventually it kind of became a problem in the relationship. But I don't want to go further into that, so just know that that is there if that is something that you're not interested in. And another thing that I do want to mention that is a spoiler, so I'm going to put this here until I am done speaking, but in this I felt it was a little bit creepy, so I think other people might have this same opinion. But Poppy has a pregnancy scare, not with Alex, with another man, and when Alex finds out, he kind of freaks out about it a little bit and then chooses to get a vasectomy after this little scare. And it's revealed later that he got the vasectomy with Poppy in mind, so that if they ever kind of got together, she wouldn't have one of those scares again. And that just seemed a little creepy to me, and I feel like other people might find that very creepy too, where I think it was trying to be more romantic, where he was trying to prepare for his future and be more cautious about things, where that's just the type of guy he was written to be. He's always prepared, he's always thoughtful about the choices that he's making, but it just seemed a little strange. So that is something that I feel like people might be a little creeped out about, but I didn't feel like it took away from the story. It was a little bit of a question mark for me, but other than that, I felt like Poppy ended up understanding and it wasn't a big deal for them, so it became not a big deal for me. So those would be the things that I would say that people would not like about this story, but overall I absolutely loved it. If I had to pick between which book to read, Beach Read or People We Meet on Vacation, I would personally pick People We Meet on Vacation. I just really loved Alex and Poppy. I thought they had such good banter, so many good inside jokes with each other. They cared so much about each other and they always put each other first, and that is something that I personally love. I feel like in another life maybe I had my own friends to lovers somewhere down the line, because that is like my favorite trope ever. It just always meant something to me and it made me cry a few times just knowing how much they cared about each other. So this is personally the one that I like more, and it is more of a romance than this one is, but I definitely recommend reading both of them. They are so good. I like the characters so much and I am very excited to see what else Emily Henry puts out. All right, I have been talking for a very long time and I am getting kind of sweaty, so I need to go. But thank you so much for watching. I know this wasn't perfectly a weekly vlog. I'm still trying to figure out how to do them better and better, but eventually I will get the hang of it. But I'm going to go and I will see you in my next video. Thank you much for watching. Bye. Ooh, books are falling down.